leave behind? Its true strength, or a meticulously crafted lie? How can the ashes of a cooking fire become the very signal that leads an entire army to its doom? This is not a lesson in logistics, but in the art of strategic illusion. Our story unfolds during the Warring States period, an age of relentless conquest. The military powerhouse of Wei, under the command of the brilliant but arrogant General Pang Juan, sought to dominate its rivals. Its most formidable weapon was its elite infantry, a force that had crushed countless enemies. Confronting them directly was a recipe for certain destruction. But one man, Sun Bin, understood a deeper truth. Paralyzed by a past betrayal, his mind remained sharper than any blade. Facing his old nemesis Pang Juan once more, he knew that victory required a performance of sheer cowardice. He had to make the mighty Wei army believe the Qi forces were disintegrating from within, that their will to fight was evaporating with each passing day. He would bait the trap, not with a piece of cheese, but with the dying embers of 10,000 cooking fires. This is the origin of a cunning military idiom. Jianzhao Yu Di, reducing kitchen fires to lure the enemy. How does one make an army vanish before the enemy's very eyes, only to have it reappear at the perfect moment for the kill? This is the story of the Battle of Meiling. Jianzhao Yu Di, oh, Jianzhao Yu Di.
Within the Kai command tent, the paralyzed strategist Sun Bin presented his audacious plan to his commander, Tan Ji. He revealed that the true target was not merely defeating the Wei army, but exploiting the known arrogance of its commander, his old rival, Pang Juan. A proud commander, Sun Bin argued, sees only what he expects to see. He will interpret our retreat as fear, and the dwindling kitchen fires as proof of mass desertion. The scheme was set in motion. With each day's march, the Qi army was ordered to reduce the number of visible cooking hearths by half. 10,000 fires became 5,000. 5,000 became 2,500. To the pursuing Wei scouts, it was unmistakable evidence that the Qi army was falling apart, its soldiers fleeing in droves. When reports reached Pang Juan, he scoffed at Sun Bin's cowardice. He saw not a trap, but a long-awaited admission of inferiority. His desire for a swift, decisive victory to cement his legacy overrode all caution. He immediately ordered his elite troops to shed their heavy supplies and pursue with all speed, determined to crush the disintegrating Qi forces once and for all. He marched his army headlong into the waiting jaws of the Maling Gorge. As the last of Pang Juan's exhausted troops squeezed into the narrow defile of Maling, the mountain itself came alive. A single torch flared atop the ridge, followed by 1,000 more, the prearranged signal that sealed the fate of the Wei army. In that moment, Pang Juan looked up at the ring of fire surrounding him and realized the horrifying truth. Every vanished cooking fire, every sign of retreat, had been a carefully laid piece of theater staged by his lifelong rival. The air filled with the shriek of arrows and the thunder of rolling logs. The Qi soldiers, who had deserted, according to the evidence of the hearths, now stood reinvigorated on the high ground, unleashing their pent-up fury upon the trapped Wei forces below. The narrow terrain prevented any organized defense or retreat. Panic spread instantly as the elite Wei infantry was cut down in the chaos, their numerical advantage rendered utterly useless. Pang Juan, witnessing the utter destruction of his army, was consumed by despair and humiliation. He had been outwitted at every turn. The brilliant strategist who had once been his peer had defeated him not with superior force, but with superior mind. The perfect, as the last of Pang Juan's exhausted troops squeezed into the narrow defile of Maling, the mountain itself came alive. A single torch flared atop the ridge, followed by 1,000 more, the prearranged signal that sealed the fate of the Wei army. In that moment, Pang Juan looked up at the ring of fire surrounding him and realized the horrifying truth. Every vanished cooking fire, every sign of retreat, had been a carefully laid piece of theater staged by his lifelong rival. The air filled with the shriek of arrows and the thunder of rolling logs. The key soldiers, who had deserted, according to the evidence of the hearths, now stood reinvigorated on the high ground, unleashing their pent-up fury upon the trapped Wei forces below. The narrow terrain prevented any organized defense or retreat. Panic spread instantly as the elite Wei infantry was cut down in the chaos. Their numerical advantage rendered utterly useless. Pang Juan, witnessing the utter destruction of his army, was consumed by despair and humiliation. He had been outwitted at every turn. The brilliant strategist who had once been his peer had defeated him not with superior force, but with superior mind. The battle faded. The full price of arrogance was laid bare in the moonlit gorge. The once invincible Wei army lay shattered, its elite corps decimated by an enemy it had believed to be fleeing in cowardice. For Chinese commander Pang Juan, trapped and surrounded, the realization of his fatal miscalculation was complete. He had been lured into this death trap not by force, but by his own contempt for his opponent. His gaze rose to the distant ridge, where Chinese strategist Sun Bin observed the aftermath from his wheelchair. In that silent exchange across the carnage, years of rivalry, betrayal, and psychological warfare reached their bitter conclusion. Understanding that there was no escape and no redemption, Pang Juan chose a warrior's end over the humiliation of captivity. The man who had once stolen his rival's kneecaps now surrendered his own life to that same rival's superior intellect. The victory at Maling resonated across the warring states. It established the military prestige of Qi and cemented Sun Bin's legacy as a master strategist. But beyond the tactical triumph, it delivered a timeless lesson. In conflict, the most dangerous weakness is not a lack of strength, but a closed mind. The seemingly humble act of reducing kitchen fires had ignited a blaze that consumed the proudest army of its age. The ashes of Maling's cooking fires cooled, but the strategic principle they embodied would be enshrined as one of the most sophisticated applications of military deception in history. This was not mere trickery, but a profound understanding of human psychology, that the most effective lies are those that confirm the enemy's existing biases. Sun Bin's genius lay in making Pang Juan see exactly what he wanted to see. This Chinese strategic wisdom transcended that single gorge. We see its essence reflected centuries later in the retreat of the Russian army before Napoleon, in the Allied deception plans before D-Day, and in modern business competition, where companies deliberately appear weaker than they are to lure competitors into misguided investments. The reduction of kitchen fires finds its parallel in every calculated show of weakness, designed to provoke an opponent's overcommitment. What makes this stratagem timeless is its dual requirement: the discipline to meticulously craft the illusion and the wisdom to understand the enemy's mindset. It teaches that true strength often lies in the courage to appear weak, that victory can be baked in the ovens of perceived defeat. This is the enduring legacy of Sun Bin's cunning lesson in how perception, when expertly manipulated, can become more powerful than any physical force on the battlefield. Beyond the specific tactics of reducing kitchen fires or luring enemies, the deeper wisdom of speaks to a fundamental truth in human competition. True mastery lies not in overwhelming force, but in the subtle art of shaping your opponent's perception. This Chinese strategic concept has transcended its military origins to become a universal principle in any competitive environment. We see its spirit alive in the business executive who deliberately downplays their company's potential to avoid attracting premature competition. We recognize it in the football coach who designs a play that makes the defense anticipate a run, only to unleash a long pass. We find it in the diplomat who concedes on minor points to gain advantage on critical issues. This ancient Chinese wisdom resonates with the Greek concept of natus, practical cunning, and finds echoes in Sun Tzu's timeless maxim, but all warfare is based on deception. The story of Malin teaches us that in a complex world, the ability to think indirectly, to understand psychology, and to craft persuasive narratives often proves more decisive than direct confrontation. It is a lesson for leaders across all domains. Sometimes the straightest path to victory is a carefully calculated detour. As we face the challenges of our time, in business, in innovation, in global relations, this strategic philosophy remains as relevant as it was over 2,000 years ago in the warring states of ancient China. The voice you selected does not support this language. Please click the upper right corner to switch to another voice. The voice you selected does not support this language. Please click the upper right corner to switch to another voice.